What is up, guys? I am Magic Viber 52, and I am here with a deck tech. Now, I know this is kind of crappy, and got best playmat ever, best show of all time, but so I got here is a really interesting deck that I came up with. Well, a lot of my friends really don't like it. I mean, it makes sense because it's actually really hard to deal with, but it's actually fun to use. Never used it in a Friday Night Magic yet, but I will soon. If this is if you watch this maybe a long before this came out, or no, long after this came out, then probably might have already used that in Friday Night Magic. But this is a really fun deck that I came up with. It's basic, a little bit expensive, but it's just basic and it just works. So let's get into the land base. So this is known as blue-white spirits. This is not control, it's just spirits. Alright, so let's start with the first card. Moorland Haunt. Tap it to add one colorless mana to your mana pool. But you can add a blue and a white to exile a creature card from your graveyard to put a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying into the battlefield. That helps if your spirits died, or if you got milled or whatever. I mean, it just makes it to where it's like, hey, I can get them back. So we are running 3 of them in this deck. Unclaimed territory. Unclaimed territory enters the battlefield. Choose a creature type. You may tap it for 1 colorless, or you could tap it for any color mana to your mana pool. Spend it only for the creature of the chosen type. Now, I thought of this because it mana fixes. I mean, you guys can take it out if you want to. This is a budget deck. I mean, I don't know how much of a budget it is, but it's just a budget deck. So I am running 2 of these. A lot of these lands that you're going to see here, like this, Hollowed Fountain, is going to be a one of. So Hollow Fountain enters the battlefield. You may pay 2 life. If you don't, enters tapped. So I mean, I got in there because of land base. So 1 Hollow Fountain. Same thing here with Pirate Stream. Enters the battlefield. Tapped unless you control 2 or more basic lands. This land helped because it's both colors. One of Zorius Chancery. I don't know how to say this name, but enters battlefield tapped. When it enters the battlefield, return a land you control to its owner's hand. That's kind of a downfall, but the upside is it taps for both instead of one or the other. So I thought, hey, that kind of helps. So might as well sell 2 of these. Now this one is kind of basic. As Port Town enters the battlefield, it may reveal a plains or an islands card from your hand. If you don't, Port Town enters the battlefield tapped. Now this I thought it would be easy since it's a budget deck, so I went for this. So we're running 4 Port Towns. One of them is shiny, if you could tell. I didn't mean to get the shiny, but it was like the only one they had in a local game store. Then we have basic lands. We got plains, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plains, and islands, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 islands. And as you can tell, they're really old because I like old. They look nice. So that's nice. Now for the creatures. Now this is just a simple setup. I mean, it's just simple. So let's get it started. Shrigest. I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate because I mispronounced a lot of stuff. But it's a 1 for 2 spirit. Whenever he deals combat damage to a player, that player puts the top 2 cards of his or library to his or graveyard. It's a little bit of mill. I mean, it helps out a little bit. I mean, unless you're going against a graveyard deck, so it's probably going to be hell and you want to sideboard this out, which I am also including a sideboard too. Curious Obsession. I thought of this one because card draw. For the ones that don't know what Curious Obsession does, Enchant a creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. At the beginning of your end step, if you didn't attack with a creature this turn, sacrifice Curious Obsession. Now, you mostly want to swing with the enchanted creature. And the fun part about this deck is most of these spirits you're going to see has flying, so it's going to be really hard to deal with. That's why it's just basic and it just works. So 3 Curious Obsessions. I know this is not a control, but I just thought of it because I had a couple cards like this and I just wanted to give it a use. So Absorb, counter target spell. You gain 3 life from 1 white and 2 blue. I thought of it would be like a really good, just like stay alive type of spell. You don't have to include it if you don't want to, but that's what I included, and I believe right here. One of them, it is signed right there from Joey Moss. I love my ninja, man. He loves his ninjas as well. That saying, please don't copy strike me. I mean, I know I'm not gonna get famous, but I mean, come on, it's Joey Moss, Bad Boy Gaming. Go subscribe to him. He's a good guy. Drug Soul Captain is next. For 1 color, it's a blue, white, 2/2. Flying other spirits creatures you control gets +1/+1 and have hexproof. I like this part because if you have 2 of them out, it's just like, hey, you can't target my board unless if you have a board wipe. So it's fun. It's just a fun card to use. I mean, like, this is what most of the spirits do to each other most of the time. I mean, except for a couple spirits, but this deck is basically just beefing them up. They're flying, so it's hard. And it's just like, yeah, it's hard to deal with. Charter Course, I thought of this one because the card draw. It says judge the cards, then discard a card unless you attack with a creature this turn. I mean, like, you don't always want to attack. I mean, like, unless if you have to, you can, and sadly you have to discard. But I mean, like, yeah, attack, draw 2, or just attack, draw 2, and discard. So, we're on 2 of these, because, I mean, like, you do need card draw, but this is why this is here, because this is also a really fun one in this deck. Vanquisher's Banner. As Vanquisher's Banner enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Creatures you control of the chosen type gets +1/+1. Whenever you cast a creature of the chosen type, you draw a card. Now, I loved this spell. I had it in one of my Merfolk decks, and I was just drawing. Like, I had this giant hand, and I had what was it? Reliquary Tower to make it where I have I have no maximum hand saves, so I was just like drawing, have this army of merfolk and everything, and had River Sneak, getting so many merfolk out and so many merfolk tokens, and just beefing her up, and she was just like a big target. I mean, like, yeah, she didn't have hexproof, and I had no way of giving her hexproof, but Vanquisher's Banner is what made it fun. So yeah, Vanquisher's Banner made my merfolk deck really fun, and it made this spirit deck fun as well. Again, if I mispronounce, I'm sorry. Nebelgast Herald Flash, which means you can cast it during their turn. For 3, 2, 1 flying. Whenever a Nebelgast Herald or another spirit enters the battlefield you control, tap target creature your opponent controls. Since it has flash, I mean, like, you flash it out and be like, I want to tap that. And if your other spirits have flash, you can tap other creatures. But there is one other creature. Let's see, is it next? No, it's not next. But I'll show the other one, and it's really going to be helpful for this guy. So we're only running 3 of this guy. Only 3. Selfless Spirit. Selfless Spirit. This is only a 1 of in my deck, but this is it's a lifesaver. It helps on board wipes unless if they use Settle the Wreckage, then it's boohoo. But what it does is you sacrifice some creatures you control and gain indestructible until end of turn. For a 2-drop, not bad. Really not bad. Pretty good card. Pretty good card. Supreme Phantom. Now this is what gave me the idea of building this deck. Flying. Other spirits you control gets +1/+1. I'm usually a standard player, but then I thought there's a lot of spirits in modern, so I thought might as well make a modern deck. So yeah, that's how I came up with this idea. Is Supreme Phantom. He's the one that gave me the idea of making this deck, and this deck's really fun to use. Um, Next one is Radiant Destiny. Ascend, which means if you have 10 or more permanents, you gain City's Blessing. For 3 is an enchantment that says, as Radiant Destiny enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Creatures you control of the chosen type gets +1/+1. As long as you control the City's Blessing, they also have Vigilance. This thing will make their life hell. I mean, like, it doesn't matter how much you have out there. I'm only running 3 in this deck. You can modify this deck if you want. I mean, like, I'm just giving this out there. But this card is super helpful when you get the City's Blessing. If not, it just beefs them up, and it's at least some helpful. So 3 of those. Departed Deckhand. Departed Deckhand becomes a target of a spell, sacrifice it. That is one downfall, because that means if you try to use Curious Obsession on it, you have to sacrifice it because it's a spell targeting it. But it does say she can't be blocked except by spirits. So that means if they're running spirits, she can't be blocked, and that's the fun part. So you can also pay 3 and a blue. Another target creature you control can't be blocked this turn except by spirits, and she's just fun. You know, I thought this will be a decent part of the build. So, alright, here it is. So this is for the Nebulgast Herald. So this one says, Rattle Chains, Flash, Flying. Whenever Rattle Chains enters the battlefield, target spirit gains hexproof until end of turn. That's a pretty good flash. But then it says you may cast spirit spells although they had flash. Now, if you had this out and do Nebublast, I don't know. I'm just going to say Herald for now on. If you have Herald out, or just casted him and then cast Herald, I mean, I would do Herald first so you could tap one and then cast Rattle Chains to tap another. But this makes other ones without flash have flash, so it makes life easier and their life hell. So I'm only running 4 of these, actually. I thought I only had 3, but no, it's 4. So 4 Rattle Chains, very helpful. Lifesaver for giving your spirit hexproof. Makes it a whole lot fun for you to give others flash and have Herald out. And then favorable wins. My dad thought, like, this is not a good card to have, but for 2, it's an enchantment that says creatures you control flying gets +1/+1. Most of the spirits don't have flying, yes, but actually there's only a couple spirit. There's only 1 spirit, and that's Departed Deckhand that's in the main deck that does not have flying. I'm only running 3 of these, but yeah, this will help out with spirits because they're mostly flying, so yeah. And now with sideboard. With sideboard, you might be questioning it, but I mean, I just went and tried to do a budget and do my best. So, Quarantine Field. It's for 2 X's and 2 white. A lot of new players might get confused on this mana cost because X means you can pay whatever amount of mana to it, but 2 X's will confuse a non-player. How it goes is you're paying 1 for each. So say like you tapped 2 mana, you just paid 1. So 4 mana, 2. That's how it works for the new players. The old experienced players are probably gonna be like, yeah, I already know this, but I'm just telling this for the beginners. A Quarantine Field enters the battlefield with X isolation counters on it. So this is basically just halving of what you paid. So, say you paid 16, it's going to get 8 counters because you paid 8. But when Quarantine Fields enters the battlefield, for each isolation counter on it, exile up to 1 target non-land permanent an opponent controls until Quarantine Field leaves the battlefield. I thought this was fun. I thought this was a good idea. Probably isn't, but I thought it was a good idea. So I'm only running 2 of it in the sideboard. Let's put that right here. Dungeon Geist. For 2 and 2 blue, a 3/3 flying. Whenever Dungeon Geist enters the battlefield, tap target creature an opponent controls. That creature does not untap during its control's untap step for as long as you control Dungeon Geist. Now I thought this is good. It shuts down most of the creatures as long as it stays alive. It's probably not so. But I mean, like, hey, it slows them down, so. Curse of Echoes. For 4 colorless and 1 blue, it's an enchantment. Aura Curse. Enchanted player, whenever enchanted player casts an instant or sorcery spell, each other spell may choose new targets for the copy he or she controls. So you can put this on them and copy what spell they're doing. So if it's like a destroy spell, they're like, alright, Curse of Echoes allows me to copy it, and I'm gonna destroy your creature if you're gonna destroy my creature. So yeah, it's just like a reverse friendly fire. It's fun. So I thought it was a good idea. Another please don't judge me, but I think it's Solemnity. I don't know how to pronounce most of this stuff. For 2 colorless and 1 white, players can't get counters. Counters can't be put on artifacts, creatures, enchantments, or lands. That's a downfall for you, but there's no counters in this. No, it's just +1s, not +1/+1 counters. So, yeah. I mean, this is a 1-of, but yeah. It shuts down poison and also 1/1 counter decks. Or counter decks. I mean, like, it kind of shuts down Quarantine Zone. No, Quarantine Field, I meant to say. So, Disenchant. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. I thought this was a good add in there. Hey, look, see? I like old. I really love old. But, yeah. This helps out if it helps for enchantment and artifact removal. Eldon of Rhetoric is another spirit that does not have flying. Each player can't cast more than 1 spell each turn. Now, it kind of does it to you, too, which is kind of sad, but it's fun. It kind of shuts down, like, really big combo decks. You know, like, before KCI's main card was banned, it could have shut that off and stopped making them stop casting freaking Mirror Retrievers. So it was like, hey, stop doing this type of card. So yeah, it helps. It helps only running 2 of these. So yeah. Tomad Crypt. This is the only graveyard hate in this deck, and I feel like I should have more graveyard hate. But this is the only graveyard hate. It's for 0, which means you can cast it for free. Tap it to sacrifice it. Exile all cards from target player's graveyard. Now that shuts down graveyard, because there's decks out there that needs their graveyard for it to work, and Tomad Crypt basically shuts that down for a long time. Unless if they have a way to get it back from exile, because there is a way to get back cards from exile into graveyard. I forgot what it was, but yeah. This is a 1-of right here. Momentum right here. These last few cards, I just decided, like, no, screw it. Just put some cards in there. For 2, it's a 05 Defender. It's not very much. I mean, like, I guess it helps out with big creatures that you need to get rid of fast. I don't know why I have a 1-of in that, but. And then there's a Soulsworn Spirit. Soulsworn Spirit is unblockable. This is another spirit that cannot fly, and that Defender can't fly. But this is a spirit that cannot fly, but she's unblockable. And whenever she enters the battlefield, detain target creature an opponent controls. Now, for the new players that don't know what detain means, and it says until your next turn, that creature can't attack or block, and its activated abilities cannot be activated. Give this thing flash, and it's just hell for them. And remember, Rattle Chains gives all spirits flash. So yeah, here's my nightmare version of a deck. I really haven't tested it yet. I mean, technically I did, but that was just casual play against my dad. But yeah, this deck's fun. It's like, it's cancer to my friends because they really hate it. I mean, like, unless the only way for this deck to not work is if it's Mana Screw, or it's either Mana Screw or your opponents just went too fast. But besides that this deck's really fast, and it's just going to be hell. So thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope it helps out a lot. I do not know how much this deck is worth, but all I know is it's a fun deck to use. So, yeah, thanks again, and I'll see you next time.